Okay, the NFC North. Let's get into this division. That is the Detroit Lions, the Minnesota Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, and the Chicago Bears. Last year, this was the number one division in pro football if you look at win-loss records. The NFC North was 45-23. That's a .662 winning percentage. The AFC West was second. They were 40-28. But these teams were led by Detroit, 15-2. Minnesota went 14-3 and finished in second place. Heck, Green Bay had a nice season, 11-6, third place, followed by the 5-12 Bears. But if you look at this division, as exciting as it sounds, all three of these playoff teams got hammered in the postseason. Detroit, 55-23 at home, very disappointing loss. Green Bay got hammered at Philadelphia, 22-10, and the Minnesota Vikings got beat up bad by the LA Rams, 27-9. But when you look at the NFC North, there are four offensive head coaches. Dan Campbell of the Detroit Lions, don't kid yourself. Campbell can call the plays. He's a very good offensive coach. Kevin O'Connell's with the Vikings, Matt LaFleur of the Packers, and Ben Johnson, the former offensive coordinator of the Lions, takes over in Chicago. All four of these guys very involved with the offense. All four of these teams, here's the DraftKings prediction for who's going to go to the Super Bowl and win it. The Lions are 11-1. The Packers are 20-1. The Minnesota Vikings are 28-1. They got a new quarterback, you know. And the Chicago Bears, 40-1. Chicago has not been to the Super Bowl since 2006 when Sexy Rex was the quarterback, Rex Grossman. The Green Bay Packers haven't been since 2010 when they won their fourth Super Bowl. And the Minnesota Vikings, why they haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1976 when Bud Grant and the Purple People Eaters were in the Super Bowl. And Detroit, they're the only team since, 1966 when the Super Bowl tournament started. They're the only team in this division that has never gone to a Super Bowl. So that needs to change. We got to get some juice going in this division. The quarterbacks are the big story in the NFC North. Jared Goff clearly is the best quarterback, in my opinion, in the North. 134 starts, 9-year starter. This guy is awesome at the line of scrimmage. And in that dome where they play at in Detroit, the conditions are perfect. He is really having some sensational seasons as a Lion. Jordan Love's got 33 starts. Remember, he was injured twice last season. Good young prospect. I think this will be the telltale season for how good Jordan Love can really be. Caleb Williams, just the one-year starter in Chicago, 17 starts. He had a rocky road, man. And J.J. McCarthy gets the keys to the Minnesota Vikings. We don't know much about him. He was injured last year in the preseason. In the NFC North, take a look at this statistical. Do you say data or data, Jake?
Data.
What do you say, data or data, Clay?
Data.
Data, I say data. 3 teams in this NFC North were top 10 scoring offenses. Think about that. The Lions, number 1 in the league, 33 points a game. Green Bay, 8th in the league, 27 points per game. And Minnesota had 25.4. They were 9th. The Chicago Bears, they were down at the very bottom, ranked 28th with an 18.2 points per game. And this division has 3 top 10 scoring defenses. The Minnesota Vikings, 5th in the league, 19.5. Green Bay was 6th, 19.9. The Lions were 7th, 20.1 points per game allowed. The Bears were last, 13th, 21.8 points per game. So you see in this league, good offenses, good defenses, but there's really only one established quarterback, and that will be Jared Goff. The pass rush, I think, is an interesting way to really look at the strength of your defense. The Vikings were 4th in the NFL last year with 49 sacks, pressure defense, they blitz a lot. Green Bay is 8th. Their defense is on the rise. Chicago was 16th with 40 sacks. The Lions with all kind of injuries, they were 23rd with 37 sacks. And I think it's important to look at the kickers. Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions came out of nowhere, man. 26 out of 29. Will Riker to the Vikings, just a rookie last year, 24 out of 30. Santos of the Bears, 21 for 25. But how about that bomb he hit in the week 17 to beat Green Bay? And Brandon McManus, he came into Green Bay during the season. They made a change. He hit 20 out of 21. Very strong division statistically. There have been multiple changes, though. You'll see in Detroit, 2 new coordinators. John Morton takes over as the offensive coordinator. Kelvin Shepard takes over as the defensive coordinator. Both coordinators moved on and got head coaching jobs. Nothing substantial in Minnesota or Green Bay, but the Chicago Bears have all kind of changes. Ben Johnson, the new head coach, I think he'll call the plays. They have Declan Doyle as their offensive coordinator. And my friend Dennis Allen, the former head coach of the New Orleans Saints, takes over as the Bears coordinator. Let's get into this NFC North, shall we? Let's go. Break. Okay, the Chicago Bears, top of mind. Before we get into their offense and defense, they've hired a new head coach, Ben Johnson, the former offensive coordinator of the explosive Detroit Lions. The Chicago Bears haven't won a Super Bowl since 1985 when they did the Super Bowl Shuffle. Man, I love that video. But they've had no winning season since 2018. They finished last in the NFC North 7 out of the last 11 seasons. So changes were made. Ben Johnson is the new head coach. Also brought in a new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, the former head coach of the Saints. A lot of new schemes, and you're going to see in a second a lot of new players. They brought in 3 interior offensive linemen. Pro Bowl guard Joe Thuney from the Chiefs, good offensive guard from the Rams, Jonah Jackson, and they gave the Atlanta Falcons center Drew Dahlman $42 million to get into the pivot. 3 new interior linemen. They brought in a couple well-known defensive linemen as well. Grady Jarrett, 10-year veteran of the Atlanta Falcons. And they brought in Odai Odangbo. I like that guy from the Indianapolis Colts, man. This guy can play inside or outside. 2 good D linemen, 3 good offensive linemen, and a couple good receivers. This Olamide Zaccheaus is a new receiver for the Bears. He had 45 catches last year for the Washington Commanders. I think he's coming in to replace Keenan Allen. They also brought in Devin Duvernay, the former Pro Bowl punt returner, kick returner. They also brought in a veteran blocking tight end, Durham Smythe, who had been playing for the Miami Dolphins. So O-linemen, D-linemen, receivers has been the focus of their free agent pickups. Then in the draft, in the first round, they surprisingly, to me, took Colston Loveland with the 10th overall pick out of the University of Michigan. They already had Cole Kmet, but now they get Colston Loveland, a playmaking tight end. They drafted Luther Burden in the second round, another wide receiver. This guy's explosive after the catch. They also took an offensive lineman, Ozzie Trapillo, in the second round out of Boston College. I think he's going to compete at left tackle. They drafted Shamar Turner, another defensive tackle, in the second round out of Texas A&M. They also got an interesting linebacker in the 4th round, Ruben Hippolyte. I think that's how you say it. This guy wasn't even at the combine, man. He ran 4.37, and he's going to compete for that 3rd linebacker spot with the Bears. Za Frazier, a corner in the 5th round from UTSA. Big offensive lineman out of Michigan State. And another interesting Gruden grinder in the 7th round. Keep an eye on Kyle Monangai. This guy did it all at Rutgers, man. He reminds me of Isaiah Pacheco. Anyways, a good draft featuring offensive players. Some big guys in free agency should help the Bears football team. They have to replace Keenan Allen and DeAndre Carter, a couple receivers. Allen had over 700 yards. He's gone. They have to replace Gerald Everett. Looks like they've done that in style with Loveland and Smythe. They also lost several offensive linemen. Tevin Jenkins, Larry Bloom, Matt Pryor, Coleman Shelton, out. They gave up 68 sacks, and they obviously think they have really improved the interior of their offensive line. And the defensive end position, they lost Darrell Taylor and Jacob Martin. I think the defensive end position for the Bears lacks depth. They also let Byron Cowart, an inside defensive tackle, go. That's the coming and going for the Bears. We have to realize this year. Is the Chicago Bears really a place where quarterbacks go to die? That's what I read in this guy's book, Caleb Williams. I think he said quarterbacks go to die there. And then Musa Muhammad, the ex-receiver of the Bears, he's like, bullshit, man. This is where receivers go to die. I started thinking about that. You know, there haven't been a lot of receivers go light it up. I mean, DJ Moore's numbers were way down last year. And Keenan Allen's out of the league right now. It hasn't been good for receivers either. But they got to get this thing going with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. The Bears haven't had that quarterback coach battery since George Halas and Sid Luckman, man. I wasn't even born then. What the hell? They got to get this thing solved. The Bears have only had a top 10 offense 3 times in the last 30 years. Think about this. The Bears are the only team in the NFL that has never had a 4,000-yard passer or a guy throw for over 30 touchdowns. That's got to change in a hurry because they're in a division with Jared Goff. I mean, hell, they got to get their shit together. I mean, let's go. They've added pass catchers. They've added offensive and defensive linemen. That's the top of mind for the Chicago Bears. They also have their general manager, Ryan Poles. They re-signed him to a 3-year extension. So now the GM Poles, the head coach, Ben Johnson, they're on the same contract through 2029. There's nothing like being united with your GM. You know what I mean? Do you? It really helps. But Ryan Poles, 15 wins, 36 losses in his 3 years since he's been the GM. Last thing, the big trade that Poles made. Trading with Carolina, Carolina got Bryce Young. We already talked about Bryce Young. He's emerging. It's time for all these players that the Bears got. Caleb Williams. They got Darnell Wright at right tackle. Tyreek Stevenson at corner. Now Luther Burden. These young players, they got to prove that this was a good trade for the Bears. So let's get into it. Ready? Break. Okay, the Chicago Bears offense is going to be led by their head coach, Ben Johnson. He comes in from Detroit. He's going to call the plays. Detroit had the number 1 offense in the NFL, and they were balanced, man. They could run it with Gibbs and Montgomery, and they could throw it everywhere to all eligibles on the field. They were explosive, a lot of big plays, very unpredictable, man. I mean, they had 6 guys that weren't even receivers catch passes. I'm talking about your right tackle, Penei Sewell, catching passes. Skipper, another offensive tackle, catching passes. Hell, they throw at the defensive players. They're really unpredictable. A lot of gadget plays. They're also very aggressive. Under Dan Campbell, I think the Lions went for it on 4th down 110 times in 3 years. So there's a level of change coming to Chicago with Ben Johnson here. But he ain't bringing anybody with him from Detroit, just himself. Remember that. I did that one time. I got off the plane in Tampa. I'm like, where is everybody? You know, you got to start from scratch, man. And it's not as easy as you think. The Bears were 32nd in yards, 31st in passing yards, 25th in rushing, and they gave up 68 sacks. I mean, that's like getting kicked in the groin 68 times. Shit, that's painful, man. Hard to think about. That's the 3rd most sacks in the history of the NFL. That's really bad. The Lions, where this man came from, they led the NFL in snaps under center. That's something we really got to look at here in the preseason. 50% of the time over 3 years, Ben Johnson's under the center. 56% of the time last year led the NFL. That'll be a dramatic change for the Chicago Bears and especially Caleb Williams. I only counted 84 passes last year that he threw from under the center. Hell, he threw like 575 from the gun. So this is a dramatic footwork change and a dramatic philosophical change. But in Detroit, a lot of the explosive plays were on play action pass, man. I mean, the Lions led the NFL in play action 36% of the time. The Bears were 30th. They only threw a play action pass on 18% of the plays. I love play action passes from under the center because the fakes take longer. I mean, it is a long, nurturing fake, boom, and they have a lot more sting to fool the underneath coverage and create these big passing lanes. Very important to keep an eye on the underneath the center offense in Chicago. I think it also services the running back. I mean, hell, the great running backs I've ever seen, Frank Gore, Adrian Peterson, on and on and on. when they're 8 yards deep in the I formation and that quarterback gets them to the ball, they got a chance to get some acceleration and some speed heading toward the line of scrimmage. They got a little bit longer to read their cuts. You service the back. Hell, these shotgun plays where they don't even know if they're getting it, it doesn't service the runner. So I love the fact that Ben Johnson is bringing that underneath the center offense to Chicago. You're also going to see a lot more pre-snap motion, a ton, to help identify coverages. You're going to see the quarterback, Caleb Williams. He should be much more involved at the line of scrimmage. I call it RCE. Recognize the defense, then communicate. It'll lead us to high levels of execution. I think you'll see a lot more of that this year. Multiplicity. The Lions did a lot. The Bears are going to do a lot. Different formations, passing concept, running concept, different tempos. I think it's going to be pretty cool. They can morph under Ben Johnson. They can run it 50 times in a game. Next week, let's throw it 50 times in a game. That's the multiplicity that this offense had in Detroit. But like I said, can you prove it and do it in Chicago? That remains to be seen. What needs to happen is trust in the quarterback. He had tremendous trust in Jared Goff in Detroit. They let Jared Goff audible. They let Jared Goff pick plays. He's got to have that trust with Caleb Williams, and Caleb's got to earn that this summer. Now let's talk about Caleb Williams. He had a rocky rookie season, 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. What was disappointing was I thought he was off target on 21% of his passes. That's according to all the Pro Football Focus stats I could get my hands on. He was inaccurate at times, especially deep. His deep passing game, they must improve. They got to improve. They were 14 of 68 last year on passes thrown of over 20 yards. That's 23%, man. That's not good. 5 interceptions. So the vertical passing game has got to get better. Otherwise, you got an owner like Al Davis. He says, hey, throw the ball over the wall, man. I felt that for a long time. The Chicago Bears have got to get rid of the freaking ball. You ever heard that band Chicago, Clay? Oh, yeah. Does anybody really know what time it is? Does anybody really care? Boy, am I off tune. Caleb Williams needs to listen to that song. Get rid of the ball! Sometimes the best play you can make is a throwaway. 68 sacks. 28 of those sacks, he held the ball for over 5 seconds. You got to remember this, young quarterback. Sometimes the best play is a throwaway because it's the only play. They got to stay on schedule and get rid of these sacks. We're going to look for Caleb Williams to use a different tempo this year, more audibles at the line of scrimmage, a different snap count, a more diverse toolbox of pass protection terms to pick up some of these blitzes. And he's got to want to be coached hard, man, because Ben Johnson's that kind of coach. He's got to get it fast-tracked. Tyson Bagent is the backup. Interesting player. 4 starts. I thought he played pretty well, too, man. Played good against the Raiders. I saw him on a short week playing against the Chargers. He's a big, tall, drop-back passer. This offense suits him. And what was interesting about the Bears' quarterback position is they did not have a veteran QB in the room last year to help Caleb. That's why they went out and signed Case Keenum. He's 37 years old. He'll compete with Bagent for the number 2 job. Plus, he'll give some good sounding board advice in these meetings. You guys dig it? He did help C.J. Stroud while he was in Houston. Let's talk about the offensive line. The Chicago Bears, they all have heard the statistic, 68 sacks. Well, they replaced a lot of different offensive linemen. They gave Drew Dahlman $42 million to come in and be the center. They also brought in Joe Thuney, left guard, Pro Bowler, Kansas City Chiefs. Thuney even played left tackle last year in a pinch. They brought in Jonah Jackson from the Rams. They spent a lot of resources to improve the inside 3. Veteran players, great communicators. So the interior should be the strength. But I still think the exterior, both tackles have a lot to prove. I know Darnell Wright went to Tennessee, and I'm a Tennessee fan. I know he's a first-round pick, but I want to see a lot better play from him. He's got to really pick it up on the right side. And on the left side, who's it going to be? Braxton Jones got hurt late last year. He's a 3-year starter. He has 40 career starts. He's been up and down. And they brought in a rookie, second-round pick, Ozzie Trapillo, to compete with him. Keep an eye on that. They also have one of my favorite guys from Yale. I got to try to say this name. Kuran Amagaji. Kuma Amagaji. He's out of Yale. He's number 72. He can play right or left tackle. I think between the 4 of these tackles, right included, they got to find 2 guys that consistently protect the edge, or the Bears will continue to be in trouble. But keep an eye on the tackle positions. The running back, feature back, if I'm a fantasy football guy, I'm going all in on DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift played for Ben Johnson in Detroit. In 2022, he averaged 5.5 yards a carry. He went on to Philly, and he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. But this past season, Swift had 253 carries, 959 yards, 6 touchdowns, only 3.8 yards per carry. A lot of the running plays were not blocked very well. But Swift, he can catch the rock as well. He had 42 catches, almost 400 yards. And he's a big play, explosive back. He had 3 touchdown runs of over 35 yards. So Swift knows the offense, knows the coach, and he's a hell of a back. I think his production is going to soar. Who's the backup back? Ask me, Jake.
Who is it?
Well, their new running back coach, Eric Bieniemy, that former Chiefs offensive coordinator, he's the running back coach. He's going to look at this Rashawn Johnson guy. He's a former 4th-round pick. He only averaged 2.7 yards a carry, 55 for 150 last year, but he had 6 touchdowns. They put him in a 4-minute drill, short yardage, goal line, inside the 10 tight red zone. He's a hard-nosed runner. But here's my sleeper I want to go back to, Malisac, Kyle Monangai. Kyle Monangai, where'd he go to college? Rutgers. That's where Isaiah Pacheco went. I love the coach at Rutgers too, man. That's a hard-nosed program. He's a 7th-round pick, 5'8", 210. They were raving about him during the off-season in the spring. He had 2 straight 1,200-yard seasons at Rutgers. He was there for 5 years, man. He carried 669 times for 3,221 yards in 52 games. Keep an eye on Monangai. Eric Bieniemy, running back coach, he's a hard-ass coach, man. He'll get these guys running. And over here, the receivers, well, they lost Keenan Allen. They still have DJ Moore, who they gave $100 million to. DJ Moore, we got to get back to a route tree, man. I got bored watching the Bears. All he was running was quick screens and one-step out routes and bubble screens. That's why I collect the vomit bags on airplanes. I want to see this guy run, man. This cat had 1,380 yards 2 years ago, and he averaged almost 15 yards a catch. He was down, man. Under 1,000 yards, only 9.9 yards per catch. I think this guy's a hell of a receiver. They also took Rome Odunze in the 1st round 2 years ago out of Washington. He had over 700 yards. That's some firepower, man. Ben Johnson has 2 really good receivers. They also brought in Malisac's friend, Olamide Zaccheaus. They brought him in. Zaccheaus was a good Atlanta Falcon, solid Philadelphia Eagle, and last year, Zaccheaus had 45 catches for the Washington Commanders and 3 touchdowns. 3 veteran receivers, and look out for Luther Burden. Luther Burden was a 2nd-round pick at Missouri. This guy can run after the catch. He's tough as hell. He's thick and quick. He's got good hands. He went to the same high school that Jamison Williams went to, who formerly played for Ben Johnson in Detroit. So there's some really cool possibilities here at wide receiver. And don't forget Duvernay, the punt returner / kick returner on all these jet sweeps and gadget plays that Ben Johnson likes to use. I like these receivers. And I really like the tight ends. I like Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, believe it or not, I think he's the longest tenured Chicago Bear. They don't have a lot of veterans that have been here in Chicago for very long. I think Big Cat's been in Chicago longer than any of the Bears. But anyways, Cole Kmet, 2nd all-time leading receiver at tight end, 2,600 yards, 17 touchdowns since 2020. Only Kittle, Mark Andrews and Kelsey have caught more touchdowns than Cole Kmet. He's a badass out of Notre Dame. They also drafted Colston Loveland, the receiving tight end out of Michigan with the 10th overall pick. In 39 games, Loveland has 1,500 yards, man. National champion in 2023. I think these two tight ends are going to allow Ben Johnson to play 12 personnel. One back, two tight ends, two receivers. That could give defenses a lot to think about. This is an interesting team with a very creative offensive man calling the plays. Can Caleb Williams adapt and fast track and learn this stuff so he can go out and apply it fast? I can't wait to watch this, man. Okay, the Chicago Bears defense, they got a change at the top. Dennis Allen comes in as the defensive coordinator. He's the former head coach and defensive coordinator of the New Orleans Saints. And I think under Dennis Allen, you're getting a complex scheme. A lot of fronts, a lot of stunts, a lot of different coverages. He's going to disguise coverages too. It'll look like split safety, but on the snap of the ball, it'll be something else. A lot of pressure, blitzes, and a lot of illusion of pressure where the linebackers, the nickel corner, they look like they're pressuring you, but they're really not. It's a really good package of disguises. This is an aggressive coach, and he likes aggressive corner play, press coverage, a little bit more man coverage than the Bears have played. Multiple coverages, 2 deep, 3 deep. I mean, man zone, 0 blitzes, and you'll see some exotic coverages as well that are just game time specific for you. You haven't seen them before. So this guy's a hell of an experienced, good coach. The Bears melted on defense down the stretch, man. They started off 4-2, and in the first 7 games, they gave up 17.2 points per game. But in the last 10 games, during that 10-game losing streak, they gave up over 25 points a game. That's not acceptable with the defense that has this type of talent. Horrible run defense. It starts right there. They were 28th in the league in yards allowed on the ground, 29th in yards per rush. I think about the Bears. My dad used to coach for the Bucks. They were in the NFC Central the old days against the Bears. I go back, I can still see Dan Hampton and Mike Hartenstein, Steve McMichael, Richard Dent, Otis Wilson kicking our ass, man. I mean, god dang. So we got to do something to fix the run defense, and we got to improve the pass rush. It was not good enough for the Chicago Bears standards. So they went out and got Dayo Odangbo from the Indianapolis Colts. I think his best days are ahead. He's going to be listed probably as a defensive end, but in nickel third down situations, he can come inside and really raise hell as an inside rusher. 16.5 sacks in his first few years as a Colt. They also brought in Grady Jarrett, 2-time Pro Bowler from the Falcons. This will be his 11th year. He's had some injuries the last year or so, but this guy had 10 solid seasons as a Falcon. He's a great guy, a great leader, and he's a playmaker, man. So they added 2 very physical NFL players. Then in the second round, they bring in Shamar Turner, an athletic defensive tackle from Texas A&M. Those are 3 new players that are going to really help this team, man. They also get Andrew Billings back, big defensive tackle. I mean, you talk about a guy that can wad up space in there. This is a big cat, man. And Gervin Dexter had 5 sacks last year with the Bears. He's a good player. On the edge is where I'm concerned. They have Montez Sweat, only 5.5 sacks last year. Offenses were chipping him, but he didn't win enough of his one-on-ones either. 2 years ago in 2023, when they made the trade with the Washington Commanders, I think they were the Commanders at that time. I'm not quite sure if they were still a Redskin or a Commander. They traded with Washington. The guy came over, had 12.5 sacks, and he looked awesome. They got to get him going again, man. And who's the other end going to be? Is it going to be Austin Booker? He's a second-year man, former 5th-round pick. They didn't do a lot on the stat sheet. He had a sack and a half. They got another guy, Daniel Hardy from Montana State, number 92. They lose Darrell Taylor. They lost a couple players. They got to find the complementary edge rusher, I think, to Montez Sweat. The linebacking core is very good. They're led by Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards, two very good veteran linebackers that never come off the field. They can play on first down, third down. They're athletic in space. They're instinctive. They can run, cover, and get off blocks. And they're productive. Think about Tremaine Edmonds, the ex-Buffalo Bill. You know, he's 27 years old. He's the youngest NFL player in history to start 100 games. You start 100 games and you're only 27? That's amazing. And he's also had over 100 tackles in his first 7 seasons. So Edmonds is very productive. The guy that really pops on film to me is TJ Edwards. The former undrafted Philadelphia Eagle signed a 2-year, $20 million contract in the offseason. All you get from Edwards is 140 plus tackles a year, man. This guy's a badass. I love watching him. Last year he had 4 sacks, 12 tackles for loss. This guy's got a nose for the ball, man. They have 2 good linebackers. But ask me who the third linebacker is, Clay.
Who is it?
I don't know. They lost Jack Sanborn. They let him go. So they get this guy. They're all talking about this Ruben Hippolyte. They get him in the 4th round for Maryland. We got Ruben Hippolyte. I go, who is this guy? He didn't even go to the combine, but he ran 4.37. Then I start hearing about all this speed and potential. Well, he did it in shorts. Can you do it in pads? Can you put those pads on and play in the briar patch and get off blocks and stuff some of these ball carriers? He's a rookie. I can't wait to see how he does. He's been exciting so far. They got a couple other veteran linebackers. We have to keep an eye on their depth and who is the third linebacker for the Bears. And as we get into the secondary, this is the strength of the Chicago Bears. I really think this group is something. They got 4 second-round picks. Jalen Johnson at corner, Tyreek Stevenson at corner, Kyler Gordon is a nickel, and they got a very good safety, Jaquan Brisker. All 4 of those guys are number 2 picks. So they have some good investments here. The lead dog is Jalen Johnson. This is one hell of a player, man. He started 70 games in 5 years. He has 49 PBUs. And hell, quarterbacks don't even look at him half the time now, but he has a lot of ball production, 7 interceptions. What I love about Johnson, he has the guts to go look for the best receiver and cover him. He wants that challenge, and he will tackle, man. 11 tackles for loss. Keep an eye on Jalen Johnson, hell of a player. Tyreek Stevenson, another guy we said was picked in the 2nd round out of Miami. He's a good player. He's got to bounce back this year. We got to put that stupid Hail Mary play behind us, man. Quit showing it. Quit talking about it. Get back to being a freaking beast. This guy can play, man. He and Johnson give the Bears 2 guys that can match up with anybody. And their nickel corner is probably my favorite Chicago Bear. I freaking love Kyler Gordon. Can I get a Kyler Gordon jersey for Christmas? Malisac?
Sure.
Get one of those guys up there in our Chicago office to do that. 42 games he's played in. 207 tackles, 17 PBUs, 5 interceptions. Hell, he's forced 4 fumbles and recovered 3 or 4 more. A ball magnet badass that just got a new contract, and man, does he deserve it. That is as good a 3 corners as you will find from top to bottom. And their safeties. Kevin Byard, been around a long time. Ex-Tennessee Titan. He comes into Chicago, starts all 17 games. Has a career year, 130 tackles. He has a pick, he has 2 sacks. Veteran presence in the back end. The key to the Bears is my man, Jaquan Brisker. He's had concussions, man. He only played 5 games. That's why they fell apart. They went from 17.2 to 25.1, and I put it on Brisker's injury. This guy's a freaking freight train. He's an interchangeable chess piece that will be perfect in Dennis Allen's defense. He can play dime linebacker. Next play, he's playing free safety. Then he's over here playing the nickel corner. He can detach and cover tight ends. And his playing style, God, he reminds me of one of those old Bear safeties. Remember Gary Fensick and Doug Plank? Good God. Was that a great defense? We got to get Brisker back, get Stevenson playing at a high level. Quit talking about that crap. Now, do they have depth? number 32, Terrell Smith, and rookie, number 20, Za Frazier, are going to be the 4th and 5th corners, I think. And the 3rd and 4th safeties up for battle. We love Brisker. We love Byard. Keep an eye on Elijah Hicks and Jonathan Owens, 2 experienced backup safeties. This is an excellent secondary, athletic linebackers. We got to get this front 4 going again, man. They got a hell of a punter here too, by the way. This guy, Torrey Taylor, comes in from Iowa. He sets a Chicago Bear record for net punt, 41.6 yards per punt as a net. That's outstanding. Santos is a good kicker. The Bears, they got some stuff going. I can't wait to kick this thing off and see what they do. I think this Ben Johnson pass offense is really going to be good for the Bears receivers. They're going to get under the center, Caleb Williams. The running back, Swift, will be about 7.5 to 8 yards deep. And they're going to make a beautiful full fake. And the quarterback will set up deep in the pocket. It's an aggressive play-action pass. And when you see this back with this kind of force coming downhill, these linebackers have to step up and protect their gaps. And in behind, you'll see what the Lions did to the Bears in Chicago. They'll put their ex-receiver on a post route, and he'll be flying at warp speed through the inside digit of that corner. Then on the opposite side, you'll see a guy like Ramon St. Brown. In this case, it might be DJ Moore running a deep cross at 18 to 20 yards deep. He'll set that guy at the top, make him defend both sides of the cut. And Goff will read all 3 levels. The faking back will come out into the flat, and then you'll see the motioning tight end come across and hook over the ball. And it's a great fake. You eliminate the underneath coverage, and you come out with that upward tilt looking for that post pattern first. And you'll see Jamison Williams ring up the Bears for 82 yards. I can see Roma Dunze right there. I can see DJ Moore doing it, Ramon St. Brown. I can see DJ Moore doing what St. Brown does. I can see Colston Loveland coming across, hooking over the ball. And if these linebackers stop the deep cross, boom! I can see Swift, after the great fake, being there. This is going to be great for Chicago. A 3-level, hard play-action pass and getting some explosive gains. Love it. Okay, let's talk about the Detroit Lions. I was just out there at training camp watching them for a couple days. It's a fun time. Dan Campbell gave me a hat. It says grit. No kidding, he gave it to me. Lions are 27-7 in the last 2 years. That's the best record in the NFL. 15-2 last year, and what was impressive is Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, the general manager. They really work well together, and they have assembled a very good roster. One thing we know about Dan Campbell, he's aggressive. Probably as aggressive as any head coach. He's going to go for it in critical situations on 4th down. They went for it 33 times last year and made 67% of them. Campbell's got the guts to go for it. They had an incredible 2024 season, 15-2, all kinds of offensive franchise records. But this franchise has to turn the page after a very disappointing 45-31 blindside loss at home to the Washington Commanders. I mean, this was the first time in franchise history they had the number 1 seed. They had home field advantage. It was a gut-wrenching defeat for the Lions. They've got 2 new coordinators. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator, left for Chicago. Enter John Morton. We'll get into him in a second. Defensively, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn left to become the coach of the Jets. Enter Kelvin Shepard, which we'll talk about in just a second. Keep an eye on the Lions' offensive line, which we will talk about in a couple minutes. Last year, Kevin Zeitler was the right guard. Frank Ragnow was the center. Glasgow was the left guard. Well, guess what? Zeitler's in Tennessee now. Ragnow retired. And now Glasgow moves from guard to center. So they're going to be playing a lot of inexperienced guys inside. That's a big change for the Lions. They drafted Tyleik Williams in the 1st round, kind of a surprise at defensive tackle. They took Tate Ratledge in the 2nd round, an offensive guard out of Georgia. He might be the opening day starter at right guard. Isaac Tesla I like that name. Big wide receiver at Arkansas. Surprised that the Lions moved up to number 70 to get him, given the fact they have great receivers. They took Miles Frazier, another offensive guard from LSU, a guy that they think can help them this season. Took an edge rusher out of Boise, a safety, and another wide receiver. Keep an eye on Dominic Lovett out of Georgia. He's had a nice camp. They've also brought in a couple free agent players, 2 linebackers, Zach Cunningham, Grant Stewart, a couple guys that aren't real well-known linebackers but could help them on special teams and with depth. Keep an eye on Avonte Maddox. He's a guy that could be their third safety, a backup corner, Rock Ya-Sin, to add depth in the secondary, and they added Ray Lopez to give them some depth at defensive tackle. The big addition to the defense, however, was DJ Reed, who came over from the New York Jets. He will be the starting corner, in my opinion. But they did lose some players now. We already talked about the 2 coordinators, talked about Kevin Zeitler and Frank Ragnow, 2 starters on the offensive line. Zadarius Smith, defensive end, is gone. 2 linebackers, Ben Neiman, Jalen Reeves-Maben, no longer in Detroit. Starting corner Carlton Davis is gone. They lost a backup corner, and they also lost a safety, Melifonwu, to the Dolphins. They lost some pretty good players. They also get a lot of injured players back. Nobody was injured more than the Detroit Lions defense last year. But when you can bring back Aiden Hutchinson, the premier rusher in football, Marcus Davenport, Derek Barnes, Alex Anzalone, you're bringing back some firepower that can really help this Detroit Lions defense. Remember, the Lions were the 7th ranked scoring defense last year, minus a lot of their key players, man. It was a credit to them. They showed a lot of grit. You know what I'm saying? They really did. Keep an eye on the Lions this year's schedule. It's a lot different than last year. Their road schedule is really difficult, man. I mean, at Green Bay to start the season, at Baltimore, at Cincinnati where Joe Burrow plays great football, at Kansas City, at Washington, at Philly, at the Rams, and at the Vikings. All these circles are playoff teams. So they got a real difficult road schedule, and they got to go to Chicago in the cold weather against their old offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. There's a lot of exciting issues ahead for this Lion team. But remember the grit factor, man. The Detroit Lions, I would like to star this category. They have a great special teams coach that nobody talks about. I mean, the offensive coordinator gets a head job. The defensive coordinator gets a head job. How about Dave Phipp? Dave Phipp, he's a friend of mine. They have Jake Bates, comes out of nowhere as their field goal kicker, starts off and hits 19 in a row. No one has walked into the NFL and made 19 straight field goals like Jake Bates did. This guy's a brick salesman. He gets off of the counter selling bricks and comes in there and makes 19 straight field goals. No shit. That actually happened. The guy goes 26 for 29 and hits 64 for 67 PATs, and he hits 3 game winners, and he breaks the Detroit Lion record for 142 points in a season. That's good coaching. And their punter, Jack Fox, broke a freaking NFL record with a 46.2 net punting average. That's Dave Phipp. His specialists, and Khalif Raymond, averaged 13.8 yards per punt return. The Lions have a great special teams unit, and Dave Phipp is the special teams coach. Last thing, let's get to know John Morton, the offensive coordinator. He worked with me, back in Oakland and Las Vegas. This guy's a worker, man. He's an excellent game planner. He can design cool plays. He'll break tendencies. He takes all this data, he can shorten the stack and give you what you really need to call the plays on Sunday. This guy was the pass game coordinator of the Denver Broncos. And remember, Bo Nix as a rookie, 29 TDs, 376 completions, almost 4,000 yards. This guy's a really good offensive coach. Was the coordinator of the Jets. John Morton was with Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson in 2022. He helped install and implement the system. They still have an excellent line coach in Hank Fraley. They still have Scotty Montgomery coaching wideouts. They still have Tashard Choice coaching running backs. And they still have Mark Brunell coaching the quarterback. So he is there. He's been there. He's got a lot of continuity. And Kelvin Shepard is the new defensive coordinator. He's only 37 years old. I saw him on the practice field. He is a bulldog, man. He's in your face all the time. I like this guy, man. 37 years old. Played linebacker for Lou Anarumo at Miami. Played for Steve Spagnuolo as a New York Giant. Those are the guys that have impacted his career, and he's been with Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell for some time. They have been preparing him for this opportunity. Shepard and Morton, two good on the rise coordinators. Don't forget Dave Phipp, the special teams coach. Let's get on to the Lions. All right, let's get into the Detroit Lion offense. This is my favorite offense to watch, honestly. Sometimes I'm in my house and my wife says, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I said, "I'm watching the Lions on offense." Man, are they exciting. They get me going. They're productive in every situation. Second in total yards, 409 a game. First in scoring, 33 points a game. Sixth in rushing. Second in passing. Number one in time of possession, man. 32 minutes and 15 seconds. That sure helps your defense because they don't have to play. And then over here, they're the number 3 red zone touchdown team, almost 70%. And on third down, they're fourth in the league at 48%. So they have function at a high level statistically everywhere. It's a credit to them. They got a new offensive coordinator. We talked about it. Johnny Morton. He'll install the plays. He'll call the plays. He'll create the plays, and he'll motivate the players. The guy's a veteran. He'll do a good job, I think. This is a balanced offense, man. They can run it and throw it. The ball distribution is incredible. You got to stop all 5 eligibles because they all have great production. They also use a lot of motion. Why so much motion? It helps Goff read the coverage. It helps these receivers get releases into the secondary. And it forces rotations by the defense a lot of the times. Write these 3 letters down, RCE. Those are the 3 letters that Detroit lives by. Recognition. Goff, the offense. They recognize the defense, and then they communicate plays to rip that defense, man. And it leads to high levels of execution. RCE. You'll hear that all the time in Detroit. And that 3-letter category summarizes Jared Goff. I mean, he is awesome at the line of scrimmage. He'll use a lot of different snap counts. He's in a research phase. And when he gets the information he needs, he puts the Lions in optimum play selection. It is awesome, man. They have 2 distinct badasses in the backfield. I was there in Detroit watching Gibbs and Montgomery. They are completely different backs, and they're both complete badasses. And they can run the ball inside, outside, toss, you name it. Wham plays, trap plays, they got it all. And when they get their running game going, the play action pass is deadly. 37% of the Lions' passes are play action passes, man. And it's really effective because of these 2 running backs. They have a great under the center offense. Goff gets underneath the center, and it really helps their running game. They do a great job helping these backs by getting them deep in the I formation so they can read their cuts on the way to the line of scrimmage and create some force as they attack the line of scrimmage. They run a ton of inside breaking routes, a ton, and they're really good after the catch, every one of these Lion receivers. They go for it a lot on 4th down. And it's well communicated by Dan Campbell and the offensive coordinator during the week. They don't just show up on Sunday, go, "Hey, go for it." No, they don't do that. They know before the game, we're in 4-down territory this week, 4th and 3 or less, maybe in this field position. But they really calculate it, and they have the guts to go for it. I love it. They use gadget plays. You'll see offensive linemen catching passes. Let's see if that continues under John Morton. Certain coordinators like me, I didn't use a lot of gadget plays. I didn't have an imagination, you know. I was kind of boring. I was kind of dull, you know. I heard a lot about that shit too. It pissed me off. Anyways, they're very creative. They use bunch formations, compressed sets. And what I love about the Lions is they have a great route tree. You're going to see some of their receivers run spray releases from tight splits. They have different bunch stacks. They got vertical routes, double moves. I love them because they run routes. It's not a RPO bubble screen every play, like a lot of this offense I see these days. Anyways, they got versatile players that can do a lot of different things. They use a ton of personnel groups, 2 halfbacks, 1 receiver, 3 tight ends. They got 3 receiver sets. They got it all, and they're not afraid to call it. Now, Jared Goff is the centerpiece of this offense. He is unbelievable. He was on Gruden's QB class, years ago, coming out of Cal. I call him the shredder. This guy is great. He has continuous movement in the pocket. I mean, he's like a boxer in the ring with the ball. He's moving around. His feet are always active. He does an excellent job under fire, man. I mean, this guy gets hit more than any quarterback in the NFL. I'm telling you. He'll stand right in there and look down the gun barrel, boom, and throw strikes. He is a fearless, athletic, quick pocket passer. I love watching Goff play. Accuracy, anticipation, awkward arm angles. He thrives more than any other quarterback, arguably, in those categories. He makes you a great play caller. You know what? If I call a play that's got no chance, a weak side run into a weak side blitz, he ain't going to do it. He'll recognize it and call a play that's better. He'll fix my problems, and then he'll make plays with the ball. He is a coach's freaking dream. They do a lot of audibles and alerts at the line of scrimmage. He's a great communicator, and he is a hell of a leader. I was watching the Lions practice. You got guys standing out there like Malasek, and Clay Myers, just, As soon as Goff walks in the huddle, everybody's on their toes, man. The guy has the magic about him. I love it. He reminds me of Joe Montana. That's right, Joe Montana. This guy threw for 72% career year last year, 4,629 yards, 37 touchdowns, 8.6 yards per pass. That's insane, man. He's the 5th quarterback ever to throw for over 4,500 yards, 70+% completion, and 35 or more TDs. 5th ever. That's the kind of rare air we're talking about with Jared Goff. Last thing on Goff. If you're a defensive coach and you play man-to-man against them, you're probably going to get sliced up really bad. Against man coverage, 71%, 20 touchdowns, no picks. Since 2021, he's had 3 seasons of 10 or more touchdowns and no picks against man coverage. So would you play man or zone, Jake? What would you do? Zone. Hey, you're a heck of a guy, Jake. Good job. Play zone against them. He did have 12 interceptions against zone last year. But keep an eye on the backup quarterback for the Lions. What if we have to play another quarterback? Hendon Hooker's coming into his 3rd year. I haven't seen anything of Hooker yet. I saw an interception in a preseason game last week in Canton. Teddy Bridgewater came into some games last year. He's not there anymore. We got to keep an eye on Hooker during the preseason. Can the Lions function if something ever happened to Goff? The running backs, Sonic and Knuckles. Well, Sonic is Jahmyr Gibbs. Knuckles is David Montgomery. This is a football team that rushes for 146 yards a game, and they will sting you, man, running the rock. Since 2003, the Lions are the #1 running offense production-wise. Almost 6,000 yards and 37 touchdowns between Sonic and Knuckles. No one's even close. These guys are really good, and they're good together. They're the only team in the NFL that have 2 backs with over 750 yards rushing and more than 12 rushing touchdowns. Be alert for what I call rocket backs. They might play both of these guys together at the same time. Gibbs can block for Montgomery. Montgomery can block for Gibbs. Both can catch. You can line them up in the backfield together. You can get into a single back set. You can even line them up empty. These guys are jokers. They're good in any formation, and they're really good together. Jahmyr Gibbs, 1,412 yards rushing, 517 yards receiving. And when Montgomery got hurt, he proved to me he's an EDB. What's an EDB? An every down back. He can do it all. You got to see him pick up blitzes and chip and pass protection. He's detailed. Tashard Choice, the running back coach, does a great job. But Gibbs has skill. He can do it all. And averaging 5.9 yards per carry, that's amazing. David Montgomery, he is knuckles, man. He is vicious. Over 2 yards after contact, man. He got hurt last year, but I saw him live about a week ago in training camp, and you notice when he hits the hole, man, he is a punishing big-time back. I love the 2 backs. At wide receiver, they have some highly decorated players, and if I were a young receiver, I would go buy an Amon-Ra St. Brown jersey. This guy is like Tommy Hearns, the old welterweight fighter from Detroit, man. This guy will kick your ass, man, in a running game. His work ethic is unmatched. I saw him. They talk about him catching all these balls before practice. I came out there early, and all I heard was boo, boo, boo. I turn around, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's like a freaking, I don't know, he's like a vacuum cleaner. I mean, shit, he can catch the ball anywhere. This guy is the go-to guy. Amon-Ra St. Brown on draft day is sitting there and watches 16 receivers go ahead of him. You think that pissed him off? Yes, it did. And now he's the only receiver in pro football that has back-to-back 100-catch, 10-plus touchdown seasons. Not only that, I think he's better without the ball than with the ball. This guy will block your face off, man. He blocks like a tight end. He is a great competitor, very quick. And when you look at his targets and catches, he's the #1 catch rate per target in the NFL in the last 20 years. He does it all. He, after the catch, can hurt you. He can get in and out of his breaks and create separation. 115 catches, 1,263 yards, 12 touchdowns. Knock on wood if you're with me. That's a badass. Jameson Williams, I think, finally came into his own last year. He's had some suspensions. He missed some time his first couple years, but he broke out last year. 58 grabs, 1,001 yards. And this cat had really improved after the catch. I think this year with John Morton, you might see Jameson Williams on the numbers running more red line go balls. This guy can really be a force down the field. Tim Patrick was their 3rd receiver. Quietly, 33 catches, almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then they go trade up this year to take another wideout, like they need another wideout. They bring in this Isaac Tesla guy from Arkansas. I was standing next to him. I'm like, God dang. 6'4", 215 pounds, ran 4.43, 82 catches, 1,000 yards. He was a single wing quarterback in high school. He hasn't even scratched the surface yet. They also have Khalif Raymond, who's a gadget guy. Jet sweeps, punt returns. This guy's a really good player. And keep an eye on this Lovett guy, Dominic Lovett. He was a 7th round pick out of Georgia. He's wearing 19. He's pretty cool. He's got some really good in and out quickness. Tight end is Sam Laporta. He was hurt a little bit last year. I think it restricted his statistics and his production, but he still had 60 for 726, 7 touchdowns. He is versatile. What a pro football player. You talk about a guy that's detailed. He's on time. He sets people up. He reads coverage properly. I love him. And Brock Wright, number 89. I put GG next to him. That's a Gruden grinder guy. I love the guy. He doesn't have any ego. He'll go in and block on these play action passes. He'll do a great job whamming on the traps. This guy does a hell of a lot of good stuff for them on special teams. Brock Wright, give me 3 of those on my team. And they use a lot of extra offensive linemen. Over 70 snaps, you'll see a guy like Skipper, 6'10" left tackle, come in and play tight end. They use a lot of jumbo 6 offensive lineman formations, so keep an eye on that with the tight ends. Lastly, we got to talk about the O-line transition. To me, this is a big deal if you're a Lion fan. We're going to have a new opening day starter at left guard. We're going to have a new opening day starter at center, and we're going to have a new opening day starter at right guard. Ratledge, the rookie Tate Ratledge from Georgia, should start at right guard. We'll see about him. He has no skins on the wall. I don't see any. And Glasgow moves from left guard to center. He played a little bit of center last year, but he is 33 years old, I think. And now you're a full-time center. That's a tough-ass job, man. Let me tell you. And over here at left guard, Christian Mahogany, 6th-round pick 2 years ago from Boston College. He's wearing number 73. You better keep an eye on these 2 young guards and a new center, because Jared Goff throws from right here every play. You guys understand that, don't you, Jake? You're a heady guy, Jake. Left tackle Taylor Decker, he's 32. He's had a lot of injuries the last couple years. Who's the third tackle? Is it Dan Skipper? Is it this Giovanni guy that they drafted as a prospect a couple years ago? Who the hell's the third tackle? We know Sewell is one of the best at right tackle. But keep an eye on the interior of the Lions offense and the health of Taylor Decker. This is paramount for this Detroit Lion offense. A lot of firepower. I know it's a lot of information, but I told you I love studying these guys. Okay, the Detroit Lions defense has a new leader. Kelvin Shepherd becomes the defensive coordinator. He's 37 years old. He was a linebacker in the NFL from 2011 to 2018. He played for the Giants. He played for the Dolphins. He played for a lot of teams. He was the linebacker coach for Aaron Glenn last year, but when Glenn left for New York, Shepherd has become the guy. He's been with Campbell from the beginning. There's a lot of trust and confidence there. They also added a really good defensive line coach, Casey Rogers. He's a friend of mine, you know. He was the D-line coach here in Tampa with the Buccaneers. He's been a defensive coordinator. He's going to be the run game coordinator. He's going to do an excellent job. He's been with Todd Bowles for a long time. They also kept the Shea Townsend. I think he's an excellent young secondary coach. So they have a good brain trust on defense. I think they all need to know we're going to rev up our rush. We got to get to the quarterback more. They only had 37 sacks last year, and a lot of it had to do, obviously, with the injuries they had. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson got hurt in week 5. Davenport was gone. Marcus Davenport didn't get anything with injuries last year. Derek Barnes was hurt. Aleem McNeil got hurt in December. Onwuzurike, he got hurt. They had a lot of injuries which really hurt their pass rush. When you watched Detroit play last year, they led the NFL 37% blitz. I think a lot of the blitzes were called because of the injuries that affected their pass rush. They also led the NFL in man coverage. I mean, this team plays a ton of man coverage. And it's probably because they were blitzing a lot, trying to get pressure on the quarterback. Will these numbers continue? I don't think so. I think they'll be slightly reduced. The big thing with the Lions, I think, as we get ready for the 2025 season, they're going to see a lot better quarterbacks this year than they saw last year. You're going to see Joe Burrow. You're going to see Mahomes and Matt Stafford. You're going to see Lamar Jackson. Then you got to go see Daniels from the Commanders. You saw him in the playoffs. Jalen Hurts and the world champions. And then you got to see Ben Johnson, your former offensive coach, with all these plays and bells and whistles. You got to see that outfit twice. So they better be ready. And I know Dan Campbell, Kelvin Shepherd are getting them ready as we speak. The defensive line, I think you got to just focus on the D-line for 2 or 3 minutes. Remember, Aiden Hutchinson, number 97, is back. Broke his leg in week 5. The guy had 7.5 sacks in 4.5 games. The guy was going to be arguably the defensive player of the year. They get him back. His motor, his production, his violence, his leadership fuels Detroit. The whole city loves this guy. Hell, I met him. I love him too. He reminds me of Max Crosby. He's just got that motor. He never quits. But you get Hutch back, which is huge. You get Marcus Davenport back. He tore his triceps out. That's a first-round pick, the ex-New Orleans Saint, ex-Minnesota Viking. Getting those 2 defensive ends back is huge. And then Derek Barnes, who's listed as a strong side linebacker, he's also a situational pass rusher. They missed him almost the whole season. So getting those 3 guys back is huge. They also used Trevor Nowaski. This young guy, number 53 from Saginaw Valley State. He comes in games last year. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He comes in there. I think it's Hutchinson. He did some really good things. He's a high-effort backup player that I like. And Josh Pascal, number 93, he's back as well. So they do have some depth and some real firepower coming off the edge. Now, at defensive tackle, we got to keep an eye on Aleem McNeil, number 54. I don't think he's going to be ready until early in the season, maybe mid-season if you ask me. But keep an eye on number 54, Aleem McNeil. He's a badass. He's a great player. I don't think he's going to be ready to start the season with that knee injury he suffered in December. But they do have DJ Reader. I said hi to DJ Reader when I was in Detroit. Good God, is he a monster? He is really big, a great run defender. And they drafted Tyleik Williams from Ohio State with their first-round pick. A bit of a surprise. 328-pound man now. And I know Brad Holmes, the general manager, he sees a lot of Aleem McNeil in Tyleik Williams. Agile, space eater, strong hands. I mean, this guy's a power player, and they like that in Detroit. Didn't have a ton of production at Ohio State. I thought he was a little heavy, just 2.5 sacks, 46 tackles. But if you single block him in a running game, you're not going to run the ball for very much. This guy's a good run defender. Reader and Williams, I think, will be the opening day starters. They added Ray Lopez in free agency. I believe he was with Arizona. Not a lot of exposure, but a pretty solid NFL veteran. And then you look inside, where's Mekhi Wingo? He's another backup player that's nursing an injury coming back from last season. So they need a little bit of depth inside. But the D-line is a huge, huge area of concern. They need this group to get to the passer. At linebacker, Jack Campbell is the guy. He's the middle linebacker. He wears the green dot. He's the quarterback of the defense, man. He recognizes offensive sets. He really helps the Lions do a great job finding the football. He's really improved in coverage as well. He always is around the ball. I love his effort. He led the team last year with 131 tackles. I think Campbell is really on the rise in becoming one of the top middle linebackers in the game. Alex Anzalone's a personal favorite of mine. He only played in 10 games last year. He was hurt. He's 30 years old, but when he plays his ass off, man. 63 tackles, 7 TFLs. His play speed, his instincts, his playing style, man, it's like, that's how you want a linebacker to play, man. I was out there in Detroit hanging out with Chris Spielman, their old linebacker, watching football, and I could just tell Spielman liked him too. So I'm not alone in my evaluation. Take that, Detroit fans. The other guy is Derek Barnes, who we talked about. Strong side linebacker. He sets the edge in the running game, man. He can rush the passer. He can beat a tight end up. He can beat a tackle. He can pulverize a running back. 81 tackles in 2023. They missed him all last season, and he's a very good situational rusher. He is a good player. Barnes, Anzalone, and Campbell give Detroit 3 solid linebackers. But again, I'm an owl. Who is the backup, man? Who are the backups? They lost some players. Malcolm Rodriguez is a good backup, but I think he's still injured. Don't know when he'll be back. He's solid. They added Grant Stewart in free agency. Let's see what happens in the preseason. Zach Cunningham, old Vanderbilt Commodore. You know, he's been around Houston, some other places. He's flashing, man. He's making some plays. He might be in the mix to really help Detroit. And then in the secondary, you ever heard that song, Rock City? Rock City? That's what I think of when I watch these 2 safeties for the Lions. I don't really like Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. I love Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. It's like Rock City, man. The Rock finds these guys. Kirby Joseph had 9 interceptions last year. Nobody knows it. He led the NFL. Since 2000, let's just say this, nobody has come into the league 3 straight seasons and had 4 or more interceptions except for Ed Reed and Kirby Josephs. Does that make any sense to you? This is a badass, man. He just signed an $86 million contract, you know, because he's the best. This guy's an eraser tackler. If somebody breaks out of there, he gets them on the ground in a one-on-one open field situation. He can play red line to red line, meaning you're back here in the post. I can haul ass over here and make a play on this red line, or I can haul ass over here and make a play on that red line. The red line is a line on the field about 4 yards from the sideline. This guy's got range, you know, and he's got ball skills. He loves football. This guy's a certifiable great player. And Brian Branch is right there with him. He was a second-round pick out of Alabama. I remember him coming into the league. I think he played mostly nickel. But now he's playing safety with Joseph. last year when all the injury had occurred, he went and played nickel. He could play free safety, strong safety. He's a Pro Bowl player. He's a hell of a player. This guy here has 8 tackles for loss. He is an excellent coverage man, and he too has great ball skills. But who's the third safety? Concern yourself with the depth of your football team this time of year. Who's the next linebacker? Who's the third safety? I don't know. Alante Maddox, free agent guy they picked up? Is it Dan Jackson, who they took in the 7th round? Who is the third safety for the Detroit Lions? We've got to keep an eye on that. And at corner, I love the emergence of Terrion Arnold. I think this guy's going to be a superstar corner. I watched the Lions. I just saw this guy out there. He's got long arms. He's got great length. Great looking guy. I didn't know he was that big. But this guy has so much confidence and savvy, it's ridiculous for a 22-year-old guy. I mean, he played 325 snaps of man-to-man coverage as a rookie. That's unbelievable, man. Most of the time you have a rookie just kind of roll up, play in the flat, maybe make a tackle. This guy, he had 7 PI penalties. That's what everybody says, because everybody's looking for the negative out there. But a lot of those penalties were early, and a couple of them might have been bullshit calls. This guy's on the rise, man. And he's going up against Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams every day. He ain't backing down. I think this guy's emerging. They also added DJ Reed from the New York Jets. They lost Carlton Davis. I think they might have gotten better with DJ Reed. Here's another guy that had 7 PIs. That doesn't mean they were good calls, by the way, because some of these referees, they need to be yelled at quite a bit. But DJ Reed, he was playing opposite Sauce Gardner. So he saw a lot of action, man, and he don't back down. This is a tough-ass guy. That's why they gave him $40 million. 2 good corners and my good friend, Amik Robertson. Look at that photo right there, the ex-Raider. I drafted him. He's their nickel. He's a hell of a player, man. He can cover. He's not afraid. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays big. That's what matters. But again, who are the 4th and 5th corners of the Detroit Lions? Is it Rock Ya-Sin, a free agent acquisition? Is it Khalil Dorsey? I don't know. They got to find depth at corner. They got to find depth at safety. They got to find depth at linebacker. The Lions have some healthy studs returning, but they got a tough slate. There's some great quarterbacks coming to look for them. It'll be fun, man. The Lions have an excellent under-the-center offense. Runs, play-action passes, and Jared Goff does a great job recognizing the front. They get a lot of what I call premier looks from defenses. A 3 technique on one guard, an outside shoulder, an inside 1 technique on the other. A 1 and a 3 and 2 loose defensive ends. 2 linebackers and a split safety coverage to stop Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got to stop the Lion pass offense. They get a lot of premier looks. And we already said they use a lot of motion. They love to put Jamison Williams in fly motion. It's at warp speed. It's so fast you can barely see it. And defenses have to bump linebackers. So you might get a nickel back bumping in to play linebacker. A strong backer becomes the weak backer. The weak backer becomes the nickel. And it's a premier 6-man box with a 1 technique and a 3 technique. And the last thing you're thinking of is Jahmyr Gibbs running a wham. But because of that 3 technique, that center can get right up on that play side backer and bust him on the second level. They tell the right tackle, you got a perfect angle to block out on the defensive end. But it's the backside that I love. I call it a club scheme. The backside left tackle, you'll see Taylor Decker take a perfect angle to cut off that linebacker. And over here, the left guard, who's going to be probably mahogany, he'll stab that defensive tackle with his inside arm, and he blocks out and traps that defensive end. It's like, fooled you, bam! He hits the defensive end. Then you'll see the right guard, the rookie, Tate Ratledge. He'll trap the backside 1 technique. And here we go. We get Sam Laporta, or it could be Wright, their other tight end. He whams the 3 technique to defensive tackle. They trap the end, trap the 1, trap the 3, and here goes Jahmyr Gibbs against the premier look. Just watch the Green Bay game. You'll go, oh, God. They're tough, man. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings led by head coach Kevin O'Connell. He's a good offensive coach, 34-17 in 3 years, but he's 0-2 in the playoffs. That's something the Vikings got to figure out. The Minnesota Vikings went 14-4, second place in the NFC North last year, but they had a really tough finish. They lost to Detroit 31-9 with the division on the line. Then they got into playoffs as a wild card and got destroyed 27-9 by the LA Rams. And the Rams sacked the Viking quarterback Sam Darnold 9 times. So with that said, we're seeing major roster changes in Minnesota. It's almost unbelievable the amount of roster turnover for a 14-3 team, 14-4 if you count the playoffs. They're under transition, not just with the roster, they're handing the reins to quarterback J.J. McCarthy, a first-round pick 2 years ago, who missed all of last season with an injury. This team is saving big money on the quarterback position, and with that money, they spent $267 million on free agents. That's second in the league to the New England Patriots, who spent $374 million. I wonder if Portnoy gave them some of that money. I don't know. But $267 million, man, they spent on this year's free agents. The key focus, improve the trenches. They brought in a new center. They brought in a couple new guards. And they brought in some new defensive tackles, defensive ends to help them on defense. Jonathan Allen, former Washington Commander defensive lineman, $51 million for 3 years. Javon Hargrave, former 49er, 2 years, $30 million to help the D-line. And on offense, they gave $88 million to a right guard, Will Fries. They also gave $18 million for 2 years to Ryan Kelly to come in and play center. A lot of money spent on the trenches. But one thing is certain, the Vikings, they win the close games. They were 9-1 last year in games decided by one score or less. That's impressive, man. And when you look at this team, they save money on the quarterback position big time. They only have $8 million invested in the quarterback position. That's the second lowest cap hit to the New Orleans Saints, who are only spending $5 million. So with all that money, they've added to their O-line and D-line. The O-line of the Vikings, $64 million into their offensive line. I bet those guys are happy. And on defense, they got $54 million in just the D-line. But look at this roster turnover, man. The guys that left, 3 quarterbacks left. Malisak, Sam Darnold, after throwing for 4,300 yards and 35 touchdowns, gone. He's in Seattle. Daniel Jones, the ex-New York Giant, looks like he's going to start for the Indianapolis Colts. And we just saw Nick Mullins up in Jacksonville. So they lost all 3 quarterbacks. Cam Akers, a running back. Trent Sherfield, a receiver. Johnny Munt had 2 touchdowns at tight end. Their offensive line, Cam Robinson, David Quisenberry, Ed Ingram, Dalton Risner, and Garrett Bradbury, their starting center, all gone. That's almost your entire offensive line. And on the defensive line, Patrick Jones is gone. He had 7 sacks. Jihad Ward is out. Jonathan Bullard is out. And Jerry Tillery also gone. These 4 men made major contributions last year. And in the secondary, believe it or not, Stephon Gilmore, Shaq Griffin, 2 starting corners, and Cam Bynum, who really played great for him at safety. He's in Indianapolis. They lost a lot of good players on all levels of their football team. They went out, though, and they brought in some free agents. Sam Howell, quarterback, came over. He's on his 3rd team in 3 years. He's going to be the backup to J.J. McCarthy. They traded for Jordan Mason, a very good running back of the 49ers. They signed Rondale Moore, a wide receiver from Atlanta, although he is hurt right now. And they brought in 3 offensive linemen. We talked about Will Fries, Ryan Kelly. They came in to start. The 2 D linemen, Hargrave and Allen. Corners, Isaiah Rodgers from the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff Okudah. I believe he's on his 4th team in 4 years. They really went out and got a lot of guys with the money that they had. And in the draft, they didn't have every one of their picks, but they did get Donovan Jackson, a versatile offensive lineman from the Ohio State. He'll be the starting left guard. Ty Felton is going to be another receiver they put in the mix. He came out of Maryland in round 3. Keep an eye on Tyrion Dawkins, defensive lineman out of Georgia. He's going to give them some depth. Kobe King, a linebacker at Penn State. And Bartholomew, a tight end out of Pitt, came over in the 6th round. Minnesota's got a good young kicker, Will Reichert, 24 out of 30 on field goals, made all 30 of his PATs, but they need to improve in the return game, man. Last in punt return, 31st in kickoff return. They got to get some better field position. I do love the early schedule of the Vikings. They got to make hay early. This is a 14-win team. At Chicago, a game they can win. Atlanta and Cincinnati, 2 non-playoff teams, come to Minnesota, and then they become global warriors of the road, man. They got to play in Dublin and in London. I'm glad I'm not on the Vikings because I hate to travel that far, and then they get a bye week. But they got to make some hay early. Last thing, a lot of these free agents that they signed are coming off injuries, man. Jonathan Allen, as good as he is, missed time last year with an injury. Hargrave missed a lot of time with the 49ers last year with an injury. Ryan Kelly, the center, missed a lot of time, and so did Will Fries. So they're gambling, man, on a lot of these guys being healthy. Let's get into the Viking offense. Okay, the Minnesota Vikings offense. Head coach Kevin O'Connell will call the plays, and they have a lot of turnover, man. This is a very good pass offense. Think about it. You play in perfect conditions, a dome stadium, at least 8 times a year at home. They take advantage of that. They have speedy receivers. They have skilled guys that can catch and run with the ball after they get it. This is a great pass offense. 3 years under Kevin O'Connell, they averaged 257 yards passing a game. That's 3rd in football. 95 touchdown passes in 3 years. That's 4th. And they've done it with 2 different quarterbacks, Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins. That's quite impressive. But I think they're seeking balance. This is pretty much a one-dimensional football team. They have a new quarterback, J.J. McCarthy. He's inexperienced. I think they'd like to help him by running the football and setting up some play-action passes. The Vikings are 27th in the league over the last 3 years in rushing attempts, 29th in yards per carry. It has not been real impressive. And Coach O'Connell in 2022 is 30th in the league in fewest runs called. 2023, he was 30th in the fewest runs called. Last year with Aaron Jones, he moved that up to 19th. But I think Minnesota would like to run the ball aggressively. They added one of my favorite off-the-radar running backs, Jordan Mason of the 49ers. This was a quiet trade that I think can pay huge dividends. Mason had almost 800 yards last year when Christian McCaffrey went down. This guy's a hell of a back, man. He can break tackles. He can get that short yardage goal line conversion. Perfect complement to Aaron Jones, who's one of the best all-purpose backs in the NFC. This is a top play-action passing team in the NFL. They average 11.3 play-action passes a game over 3 years. That's significant. That's where the chunk plays come from. They're the only team in the NFL to have 10 or more touchdowns 3 straight years on play action. So they're really good whether they have a great running game or not. If Mason and Jones can get this running game going, you're going to see a lot more play action passes from Kevin O'Connell. That's where the big plays are. Sam Darnold last year on play action passes had a 125 rating. That's insane. Over 1,000 yards passing, 13 touchdowns on play action passes alone. I hate to quote a lot of statistics, but damn, that's really impressive. Darnold loved it. Now, Darnold's gone, but I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be real good handing the ball off and faking these handoffs with these wide receivers blurring the screen. They got to improve in short yardage. The Vikings were 27th in the league, just 46% on 4th down. They struggled in short yardage, and they struggled on 4th down. That's got to improve. Let's talk about J.J. McCarthy for just a second. A lot of people may have forgotten him. This is a very athletic, live arm quarterback with a lot of personality and juice. He's a great communicator. He had a healthy off season, and everything that I've heard has been positive coming out of camp. Last year when he was hurt, they tell me he spent about an hour a week with his head coach, just getting to know each other, getting to know the system. They even had this special camera thing put in Sam Darnold's helmet. He could hear Sam Darnold's snap count, he could hear him making all the calls, and he could go through the reads because that camera showed J.J. McCarthy exactly how Sam Darnold was reading the plays. Is this weird or what, man? The guy's got like a robot, man, to look at, to train himself. Phenomenal. The guy played great at Michigan. He was there as a freshman. He comes out of Chicago. He's there with McNamara, kind of splitting time. And then in his sophomore year, he goes 12-1. The only loss is to TCU. That's the game he had a couple picks. Then he goes 15-0 and wins the national championship. 27-1, man. This guy's a winner. This guy's a good player. And I know the Vikings are anxious to see where he is. Now, the backup quarterbacks, Sam Howell, been around, you know, former Tar Heel, started his career in Washington. Brett Ripien is another guy to keep an eye on. Josh McCown, he's been around a long time. NFL quarterback, I think he's been on 12 teams. This guy's what you really call a journeyman. He knows the game. He'll be the quarterback coach, but we got to keep an eye on how McCarthy gets started. They need positive momentum, to say the least. He will have 2 running backs to hand the football to. Aaron Jones, one of 3 running backs in the NFL to rush for over 1,000 yards and catch 50 or more passes. I mean, that's Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and Aaron Jones. This guy is a bitch, man, when he gets out there in space. I mean, in a good way. This guy gets out there, can really mismatch you bad in the passing game. But I think they want to cut back on his usage. He played over 700 plays last year, carried the ball 255 times, 306 touches. That's a lot of action. Jordan Mason comes over from the 49ers, 789 yards. This guy's a pounder, man. In his first 8 games last year, he made 51 guys miss. So this guy's elusive in the hole, and he can put his pads down and move the pile. They also have a 2-time Pro Bowl fullback, C.J. Ham. And I expect Ham to play more. Think about this. Last year, the Vikings were in 21 personnel only 12% of the time. That's 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 receivers. So even though Ham is a Pro Bowler, they didn't use him very much. But I think that could increase with the addition of Mason, the return of Jones, who re-signed for 2 years and $20 million, and the fact that O'Connell wants to run the ball. So look for more C.J. Ham. The offensive line is the key, I think, part of this team you got to keep an eye on. Christian Darrisaw returns at left tackle. There's another guy coming off an injury. Heck of a player, very athletic, but he's been hurt. The left guard is going to be a rookie. First-round pick, Donovan Jackson. You know how rookies are. They drive some of us coaches crazy, but this guy can play left tackle or left guard. He proved it at Ohio State. Ryan Kelly comes over from the Colts. He missed 7 games last year with injuries. And right guard Will Fries, he missed 12 games last year. So you got an injury returner at left tackle, a rookie at left guard, and a center and right guard who are good players coming off injuries. That's something to keep an eye on. Brian O'Neill will be the right tackle. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. He's a very good player. But keep an eye on the return of these injured players and the rookie left guard. I think it's important. Obviously, the well-known Minnesota Vikings are on the perimeter. Justin Jefferson, he is a freak show, man. Nobody in football over the last 5 years has ever had 7,432 yards. I mean, this guy's magnificent. 96 yards a game. That's impossible. And he's smart, and he's versatile. He plays X away from the call. He plays Z to the call. He plays the F position in the slot, and he can run routes that you put on training reels, man. I mean, this guy can run option routes. He can run slants. He can run double moves, and he can get down the field in a hurry. He's well-conditioned. He's a great competitor, and he's a great 50-50 ball catcher. He also draws a lot of PIs, I think. I mean, this guy's a great player. But his complement, Jordan Addison, is going to be suspended for a few games to start this season. You better keep an eye on that, Minnesota Viking fans. This guy has 20 touchdowns in 2 years. He's a great receiver. He had almost 900 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. This guy's a game-changing freak show. playing opposite of Justin Jefferson. And they're going to miss him for the first few games. Jalen Naylor is the third receiver for the Vikings, who I think is going to have his number called a little bit more. They call him Speedy. Guess why, Jake?
He's fast.
He's fast. This guy comes out of Michigan State. He had 6 touchdowns last year. Jalen Naylor is a really good player. And without Addison, they're going to ask him to do more. They also drafted Ty Felton in the 3rd round from Maryland. He's a good player. Somebody's going to have to step up in Addison's absence for the first month of the season. Keep an eye on that. They signed Rondale Moore, the former Atlanta Falcon, former Arizona Cardinal. He was a 2nd-round pick, and they had high hopes for Moore, but he got hurt in the preseason. I don't think he's going to be ready for the season. So Felton, Lucky Jackson, and Jones, the kid they brought in from Jacksonville, we got to see who is next at the wide receiver position. And I think TJ Hawkinson could be a bigger part of the offense this year. Remember, in Week 16 in 2023, he got that late hit. He hurt his knee. He really wasn't himself last year. But in 2023, man, he had 95 grabs for almost 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns. Last year, he just had 40 catches for under 500 yards and no touchdowns. So I think with the absence of Addison, fantasy football fans, I think you might see more of Hawkinson. They re-signed Josh Oliver as the number 2 tight end, and I think Gavin Bartholomew, the 6th-round pick out of Pitt, might have a role in Minnesota if they want to run the football. But keep an eye on the injury returners in the O-line. Who replaces Jordan Addison? How does J.J. McCarthy take off as a first-year player? There's a lot of unknowns in Minnesota, but they've had history of success. You know, when you lose Sam Darnold, though, it's kind of difficult to imagine how you let a guy out of here that threw for 4,300 yards and 35 touchdown passes. I mean, the only quarterback to ever change teams after throwing 30 touchdown passes was Jameis Winston when he threw 30 picks for Tampa. But Darnold didn't throw 30 picks. Darnold had a hell of a year. So there's a little pressure on McCarthy to continue this excellence. Darnold was the number 1 deep ball passer in football last year. On all throws of over 20 yards in the air, he led the league with 28 completions. He led the league with 48% complete on those passes. Those are usually low percentage. He led the league in yards. He led the league in touchdowns. And now he's in Seattle. Whew, that's hard to believe. But when you think about Minnesota, if you're a broadcaster like me, I used to be anyway, think about a J nickname for these guys. Hey, J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. You got Jalen Naylor, Aaron Jones, and T.J. Hawkinson. There's a lot of J's on this team, man. Let's go, Vikings. Okay, the Minnesota Viking defense led by defensive coordinator Brian Flores. He does an excellent job. Last year, the Vikings were 5th in the league in scoring defense, just 19.5 points per game. 2nd against the run, 16th total. Brian Flores, he is going to heat you up, man. This is a blitz defense, and they do a great job keeping you guessing with different kinds of coverages. Normally, when you blitz somebody, it's man-to-man. But when you play this guy, I don't have any idea what the coverage is, and I got the clicker, and I'm trying to figure it out. Last year, the Minnesota Vikings did a great job bringing in a bunch of free agents, putting them in this system and having success. They're going to do the same thing this year. They brought in some new players that they're counting on to play at a high level. But the best thing Minnesota does, man, is they take the ball away. They took it away 33 times last year, tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers for first place. That's impressive. Their 3rd down defense is very impressive. They only give out 35% conversion rates. And on 4th down, they only give up 37%. They're 1st in 4th down defense, and they're 4th in 3rd down defense. They get off the field, man, and they make a lot of impact plays. Brian Flores is the number 1 blitz coach, period. Almost 41% of the time, Flores dials up the heat. That's number 1 in the league. And in 2024, he blitzed 49% of the time. So you better have a running back that knows who to block. You better have a tight end that can block to pick up some of these blitzes. They better know who to block, how to block, and they better want to block because they're going to have to against the Vikings because they're coming. Minnesota is one of 3 teams to have 3 different men with 7 or more sacks. That's impressive. They have 7 different players on their defense get 2 or more interceptions. So they use everybody. Everybody's a part of the blitz package. Everybody has specific roles in coverage. You don't know who's coming and who's going. They blitz from 3-point stances, 2-point stances. They blitz up the middle. They blitz off the perimeter. And they have a lot of volume, man. It's impressive. Jonathan Grenard had 12 sacks last year, and Andrew Van Ginkel had 11.5. I love Van Ginkel's name, don't you? Andrew Van Ginkel. Sounds like a fairy tale. And over here, Patrick Jones, who left to go to Carolina, he had 7 sacks. The edge rushers are the guys I think you got to keep an eye on when you play the Minnesota Vikings. It all starts up front. Remember, this is where the purple people eaters played, man. Grenard had 12. And he played 870 snaps, man. He's got great stamina. Van Ginkel, he's the king of deception. He'll play inside, outside, left side, right side. He'll play forward and he'll play in reverse. He's the only player in NFL history other than Jason Taylor to have 10 or more sacks and 2 pick sixes, man. This guy took 2 interceptions to the house. Both of them are Pro Bowlers. Both of them are badasses. And Van Ginkel played 869 snaps. It's not like they take a lot of water breaks. You know what I mean? They also have Dallas Turner. I tell you, Patrick Jones, he left. He went to Carolina. Turner is going to be the 3rd element on the outside. He only played 290 snaps last year. But remember, Minnesota traded up to get him from Alabama in the 1st round. They really like number 15, Turner. And keep an eye on Gabriel Murphy. Those are your 4 edge rushers, and that's a very impressive crowd. The defensive tackles are going to be brand new. When they play a nickel defense, their defensive tackles will be Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave, 2 new players. Allen's terrific. He was a great Washington Commander and a good Washington Redskin. And Hargrave was good for the Steelers and good for the 49ers. They'll play defensive end in their base defense, and when they go to nickel, they play over the guards. They can rush the passer. They can stuff the run. They also drafted Tyrion Dawkins out of Georgia. They took him in the 5th round. He's going to have to play some critical snaps to give these guys some rest. And remember, Allen and Hargrave are coming off injuries. They had injury-plagued seasons last year. The nose tackle is number 97, Harrison Phillips. I love this guy. I call him a body snatcher. He can take the center in their base defense and play 2 gaps. If the ball's over here, he gets rid of the center, he plays that gap. If he has the center and he sees the ball over here, he gets rid of the center. He can play 2 gaps. He is a load, man. They also have Jalen Redmond out of Oklahoma, number 61. They have 2 good nose tackles, brand new defensive tackles, heat off the edge. If Allen and Hargrave are the guys we remember them as, look out. This could be a really nasty front. The linebacking core, they're led by Blake Cashman. He came to Minnesota last year as a free agent, and all he did was ball, man. He led the team in tackles with 111. 4.5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Hell, he hit the quarterback 11 times. Cashman's a hell of a player. The other linebacker, Ivan Pace Jr., kind of reminds me of Malisak. He's a pain in the ass, man. Always working all the time, man. This guy had 69 tackles and 3 sacks. He missed a lot of time with injuries. But you better know where this kid is because this guy plays his butt off. He likes to blitz. I like the acquisition of Eric Wilson, the ex-Green Bay Packer. This is a veteran linebacker that gives Minnesota depth. Remember, Cashman got hurt last year, so did Pace. And they had to use Josh Metellus, who's like the hybrid of the ages, man, as a dime linebacker. So getting Eric Wilson will allow them to have a little bit more, confidence if something happens. But in the secondary, I would ask everybody to keep an eye on this crowd because I think Jared Goff of the Lions, Jordan Love of the Packers, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams of the Bears, they're going to find out a lot about these guys fast. The only real returning player is Harrison Smith and Byron Murphy. Harrison Smith, number 22, is going into his 14th season. And this guy's unbelievable in this Flores system. Hell, he's one of 5 guys in the history of football to have 35 or more interceptions and 20 or more sacks. Harrison Smith. Rondé Barber, Brian Dawkins, Charles Woodson, Leroy Butler. Hey, I got to coach all those guys. Maybe I should come back and coach Harrison Smith and say I'm 5 for 5. This guy's a hell of a player, but he is in his 14th season. But when you watch Smith, what makes him unique is he can play in the middle of the field, back in the post like a traditional free safety. But then he comes down and plays in the box 250 times like a linebacker. I mean, he's explosive in the hole still. And then he can come on the line of scrimmage like he's an outside linebacker. He'll blitz. He'll drop into coverage. He'll even play in the slot 86 times. Harrison Smith, you need to celebrate this guy. He's one of the great pro football players in the last decade. Over there, who's going to be the strong safety? I don't know, because they lost Cam Bynum, a very good safety who had 96 tackles, a couple interceptions. He's gone, so I don't know who it's going to be. Is it going to be Josh Metellus? I don't know. It could be Jay Ward from LSU. It could be Theo Jackson. There's a battle at the opposite safety to Harrison Smith. You better keep an eye on that because everybody else is. And at the corner, they're going to have 2 new players on the outside, I think. Stephon Gilmore, he left. Shaq Griffin, he left. Guess what? Jeff Okudah, keep an eye on him, number 21. He was the 3rd overall pick, but he's really been a journeyman. I think this is his 4th team in 4 years, but obviously the Vikings think he can turn it on. Over here at the other corner, it's going to be Isaiah Rodgers, the ex-Philadelphia Eagle. He comes in 2 years, $11 million. He only played 36% of the plays for the Eagles. But obviously Brian Flores likes his upside. I think Rodgers and Okudah right now are the position starters for the Vikings. Nickelback Byron Murphy got $54 million. He had 6 interceptions. He's a hell of a football player, but you better keep an eye on Mekhi Blackman, number 5 from USC. Aubrey Thomas, number 23, came over from the 49ers. And this guy from Arkansas, Dwight McGlothern, number 29. They got some corner issues. They got some unknowns out here on the edge. And I think it's going to be exciting to follow this secondary because they do have some talent, man, in the front 7. They're going to heat you up. It's going to be an exciting team to watch, but they have a lot of change. Let's stay tuned. Okay, defensive coordinator Brian Flores is going to come after you in their base defense and in their sub defense. In their base 3-4 defense, you'll see Harrison Smith playing on the nose. He'll slant to one gap, and you'll see the defensive ends. Jonathan Allen, you'll see Javon Hargrave. You'll see outside linebackers, Jonathan Grenard, and you'll see Van Ginkel on opposite sides. They bring the MEB combination quite a bit. And you better have a tight end that can block Grenard or Van Ginkel. And you better have an inside linebacker that can handle Pace or Cashman, or you're going to get your ass knocked off. And then the next down, they come at you with their double A package in nickel. And you send a center to block one of the linebackers. The guard and the tackle stay big on big. And you better have a running back to go up in that A gap and dig out that linebacker, or you're going to see your quarterback, boom, he goes down hard. And then they create one-on-ones. Sometimes they'll just put Harrison Smith on the line of scrimmage to get your running back's attention. Then he'll go flying out there to the middle of the field, and Jonathan Grenard will beat your tackle one-on-one. There's a lot of deception, a lot of different looks, but a lot of pressure's coming to your neighborhood, baby. You better practice against it. All right, the Green Bay Packers are an excellent football team. I think this team can challenge to win it all this year. They were 11-6 last year, 3rd place in the very difficult NFC North. But head coach Matt LaFleur Since he's been in Green Bay, 2019, the Green Bay Packers are 67-33. That's the best record in the NFC. So you got to give credit to head coach Matt LaFleur, general manager Brian Gutekunst, vice president of football operations Russ Ball. They've had a lot of continuity at the top of the organization, and it shows. This is the youngest team in the NFL. Average age is 25.3 years old. That is exciting, man. They've done an excellent job drafting and developing players, and I think it's time for Green Bay to take the next step. Think about it. You got good players, you got an excellent coaching staff, you've had a lot of continuity, you've had a lot of success. I think it's time for Green Bay to get to the Super Bowl and win it. That should be the expectations. They've got to play better against the top competition in the NFC. Last year against Minnesota, Detroit, and Philly, the three teams that are a little bit above Green Bay, they went 0-6. They lost to Minnesota, Detroit, and Philly twice. They've got to play better against the big-time competition. The other thing with Green Bay is the Packers and the world champion Philadelphia Eagles are the only two teams in football to have a top 8 scoring offense and a top 8 scoring defense, a top 8 total offense and a top 8 total defense. This is a very well-rounded football team. The key to the success for the Packers since Matt LaFleur has been in Green Bay is the turnover margin. Last year they were plus 12, 31 takeaways, 19 giveaways. That was third in the league. But since LaFleur has been in Green Bay since 2019, the Packers are plus 46. Man, that's excellent. That's second in the NFL behind the Steelers. And they have only turned the ball over 96 times since LaFleur has been in Green Bay. That's the best in football. That's some really good coaching. I mean, they take care of the ball, just like you guys should take better care of some of your luggage. Matt LaFleur will call the plays, but they have a new quarterback coach, Sean Mannion. He replaces Tom Clements, who was the Packer quarterback coach for a long time. And Nathaniel Hackett, the former head coach of the Denver Broncos, returns to Green Bay, where he was the offensive coordinator with LaFleur in 2019 to 2021. There are going to be some new additions on the offensive line. Elton Jenkins is going to move to center. They brought in Aaron Brooks to play left guard. There's going to be a lot of competition. And I love their special teams coach, Rich Bisaccia. He coached with me a long time. They've done an excellent job. Keyshawn Nixon has been a 2-time Pro Bowl returner, another ex-Raider. And Brandon McManus really solidified the kicking game, won 20 for 21 in cold weather, man. 30 for 30 on PATs. That's a hell of a job. He replaced the struggling young kicker and did a fine job. They've done a great job in player development. They've got an excellent coaching staff. I think they got to start fast. If they start fast in these first 2 games, look out. They have home games against Detroit and Washington to start the season. I would love to see the Packers start fast and get some good mojo going. But they did lose some pretty good players. Remember, Eric Stokes, starting corner, gone. They also let Jair Alexander go. He's starting for the Ravens now. So 2 pretty good corners are gone. Josh Myers, their center last year, is gone. TJ Slayton, a very good defensive tackle, is also gone. He's in Cincinnati. Eric Wilson, a pretty productive inside linebacker, gone. A.J. Dillon, a big back who was out last year, signed with Philadelphia. They also have a new president, Mark Murphy, gone. They brought in Ed Policy. They didn't add a lot of free agents, but they added a couple pretty good ones. Nate Hobbs, former Raider. Now they got Keyshawn Nixon. Now they got Nate Hobbs. They got Rich Bisaccia, Josh Jacobs. They got more Raiders than, well, I remember the Raiders. They got Aaron Banks to come in from the 49ers to start at left guard. They brought in Isaiah Simmons, a former first-round pick out of Clemson, who's had an up-and-down career. It'll be interesting to see how they use him. They also brought in Mecole Hardman, former wideout return man with the Kansas City Chiefs, another guy that can really run. But take a look at the draft. There's a couple names you got to know. The first one is Matthew Golden, number 1 pick out of Texas. This guy can fly, man. 4.29 he ran at the combine. Anthony Belton, another offensive lineman that can really help protect the young quarterback. I like Savion Williams, wide receiver, joker kind of guy at TCU. He played quarterback, running back. This is a big, fast, strong athlete. And Barron Sorrell, edge rusher at Texas, is a guy to keep an eye on. They had a good draft. They've done a great job developing these young players. Let's get into the offense. Okay, this Green Bay Packer offense is good, man. They got a lot of explosive athletes, and Matt LaFleur does a really good job. It is a run-heavy offense now. This is the first time in Matt LaFleur's career as a head coach they ran the ball over 50% of the time. Third in the league, 51% runs. Only Philadelphia and Baltimore ran the ball more than the Green Bay Packers. Why'd they run the ball so much? Ask me, Clay.
Why?
Ask me like you really care, Clay.
Why did they run the ball?
Because their best player's Josh Jacobs, man. And they really did a great job of featuring the beast. They had 70 running plays of 10 yards or more. They have an athletic offensive line, a great feature back, and they really do a great job of getting him to the line of scrimmage. They also had 59 pass completions of over 20 yards. That's explosive offense, fourth in the NFL. They had 14 completions of over 40 yards. Al Davis would have loved this guy, man. That's first in the league, tied with Baltimore. This is a vertical passing attack, very good ball distribution, and Matt LaFleur, he has some really good twists, man. Remember that chubby checker guy do the twist? I don't know why I thought of that, but they do a hell of a job, man. They use 11 personnel with 3 receivers. They're capable with their 2 young tight ends, if Musgrave is healthy, to play 12 personnel, 1 back and 2 tight ends. And if you watch them carefully, they use 2 halfbacks at a time. They'll put Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs in there over 50 times. So it's a very diverse attack. LaFleur does a nice job changing it up every week. But this whole operation is going to fall on their young quarterback, Jordan Love's shoulders. I love watching Jordan Love at the end of the 2023 season. I think in the last 8 games, he had 18 touchdown passes and 1 pick. He went to Dallas in the playoffs and shredded them, man. Then he went to the 49ers and had a chance. This is a talented young quarterback that turns 27 years old in November. You know how old Brett Favre was as a Packer when he won the Super Bowl? How old, Jake? 27. How old was Aaron Rodgers when he won the Super Bowl for the Packers, Clay? 27. So this is the year for Jordan Love to do the same thing. I'm fired up about that, man. That's karma. This is his 3rd year as a starter. I believe he's ascending. After that great 2023 finish, remember, they had to open up the season in Brazil. He got hurt over there. He hurt his meniscus. He missed some time. Then he came back. He hurt his hamstring against Jacksonville. He missed practice time, and that hurt his development, I believe. He's got to become more consistent. Like I said, if he could start fast and get the Lions and get the Washington Commanders, he might just win a Super Bowl at age 27 like Favre and Rodgers. This is a talented dude, man. He's elusive. He's got a great arm. He can throw it off platform. But I think sometimes he throws off platform when he doesn't have to. I think he needs to settle into his fundamentals and become more accurate. It's very important that Love gets more consistent as a decision maker as well. He's thrown 22 interceptions in the last 2 years. That's 7th in the NFL. That's not like Matt LaFleur. And he's only completing 63% of his passes over the last 2 years. That's 27th. But again, they throw the ball down the field. They're not just completing these bullshit bubble passes. I mean, they're throwing 18 to 20-yard cuts. You got to put some of the statistics into perspective. But he loves the deep ball. My old boss, Al Davis, would love it. 14% of every throw Jordan Love makes is over 20 yards. Are you kidding me? Some teams go a month without throwing one. This is a guy that can really rock the ball down the field. He had almost 4,200-yard passing in 2023, 32 touchdowns, 11 picks. Last year, he fell off, 33-89, 25 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. And that playoff loss to Philly, it still stings. Man, he threw 3 interceptions, no touchdown passes. Philadelphia got after their ass. So that has to change. They got a good young backup in Malik Willis. When Love was out, Malik Willis came in, threw for 74%, 550 yards, and he carried 20 times for 135. And he helped them win a few games. So they're in good hands at quarterback. Got to get more consistent. And against Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia, Love had 8 interceptions, 8 touchdowns. Those are the games that he's got to rise to the occasion. At running back, they're led by the beast, the ex-Raider Josh Jacobs. 301 carries, 1,329 yards, 15 touchdowns. He's a Pro Bowl back. He sets the tone, man. I don't think anybody made more rushing yards than Josh Jacobs in the first quarter. He established the run. He helped set up some play-action passes, and most of his damage comes between the tackles. Almost 900 yards rushing between the tackles, and 686 of those yards comes after contact. This is a beast, man. He's a physical presence, and he's just now in his prime. I think he's going to continue to get better, and he can also catch the ball. He caught over 40. They've got another young back, fantasy football players. Look at Emmanuel Wilson. Quietly 502 yards rushing, 4.9 yards per carry, and they use Chris Brooks as a third down back. He's a good blitz pickup guy. He can catch the ball. But Jacobs played 62% of the snaps, Emmanuel Wilson played 24%, and Chris Brooks played 17%. The other back to keep an eye on is Marshawn Lloyd. He was a third-round pick 2 years ago. Started his career at South Carolina, went to USC, averaged about 7 yards a carry, 110 carries, 810 yards. He had a hamstring, a hip, an appendicitis. This guy had all kind of issues last year. He only got in one game. But he's healthy, he's back, and that gives Green Bay 4 guys that can play the running back position. At the wide receiver position, I used to be the receiver coach at the Packers. I was out there. We had a guy named Sterling Sharp. He just went into the Hall of Fame. Had nothing to do with my coaching, but boy, he made me look like a good coach. You know that? I was out there with Sterling Sharp and Robert Brooks. When I left, Antonio Freeman became the go-to guy. They had Greg Jennings, the great Donald Driver, Jordy Nelson, and they really haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since Devontae Adams left in 2021. But this year, they went out and drafted Matthew Golden out of the University of Texas. This cat played at the University of Houston, transferred to Texas. This is a hell of a young receiver. We had Quinn Ewers in here on Gruden's QB class, and all he talked about was this Golden guy, great competitor, versatile. All the routes you can think of, he can run at a high level. 4.29. I don't remember any of these great receivers running like Golden, but I think with the arsenal of guys that they have here, this is the perfect addition for Matt LaFleur and this vertical passing attack. They already have Dontavian Wicks. He's a pretty good young receiver. He was targeted 76 times last year. They have Romeo Doubs. He was targeted 72 times. They have this guy, Jaden Reed, who I love. He was targeted 75 times. They put him in the backfield. They hand him the ball. They give him jet sweeps. They have some really good receivers. Christian Watson, good young receiver. Tore out his knee, hurt his knee really bad in week 18. They don't think he'll be ready until mid-season. Watson was their home run threat, averaging 21 yards a catch. They're going to miss him. Enter Matthew Golden. This guy can play in the slot. He's got start and stop quickness. He can get down the field. He can close the cushion. He's got excellent hands. Hell, Golden returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns when he was a Houston Cougar. He adds a lot. And what are we going to do with Savion Williams? This is a big receiver they took in the 3rd round out of TCU. They have an arsenal of guys. They had a lot of drops last year, 29 drops by the Green Bay Packers. You know what the fans do when you drop a pass? Oh! You know, you probably heard a lot of that last year. That's the one reason I think we have a couple new receivers. If you don't catch the ball consistently, we'll find somebody that will. But keep an eye On this Green Bay Packer receiving corps, I really like Romeo Doubs. He got suspended last year at the beginning of the season. He was upset about something. He comes back. He really looks good. But towards the end of the season, he had a couple concussions that inhibited his ability to be on the field. But he has a contract year this year. I expect Romeo Doubs to play really good. But it's Jaden Reed. He's a guy packaged with Golden that give Green Bay two really good receivers that can do a lot of different things. This is an exciting crowd. The tight end position, they have Tucker Kraft. This is a former 5th-round pick who really did an excellent job last year with 7 touchdowns. He had 50 catches for 707 yards. That's 14.1 yards a catch. Only George Kittle had more yards per catch than Kraft. He's excellent after the catch. He's a very hard man to get on the ground. He had 481 of those yards after the catch. This guy's a very good young emerging tight end. And I think Luke Musgrave, former 2nd-round pick who was hurt most of last year, I think he's got a lot of ability. So I circle Musgrave, I circle Golden, and I circle Lloyd. I think these are 3 guys that can already add to a very, very good football team and make plays. But I think it's going to come down to this offensive line. There are some changes. Center Josh Myers left, and they're going to move Elton Jenkins from guard to center. He's played center before, but it'll be a transition, and he's hurt right now. He hurt his back, but he'll be okay. They do have Jacob Monk, number 62, in the pivot right now, a former 5th-round pick out of Duke. But keep an eye on Jenkins. Let's hope he's healthy. He is one hell of a Green Bay Packer, but he's moving to center. Aaron Banks comes over from the 49ers. He got $47 million, Jake. $47 million, 27 guaranteed, Malisak. He is the left guard. Sean Ryan is still the right guard. And Zach Tom, the right tackle, he just got $88 million. So where is all the competition? Everybody look at the left tackle position. This is Rasheed Walker. He's been the left tackle number 63. But last year, remember this, they took Jordan Morgan in the 1st round out of Arizona. What position is Jordan Morgan going to play? Well, he's going to compete at left guard with Rasheed Walker. He might even go over here and compete at right guard with Sean Ryan. But they also took Anthony Belton in the 2nd round. So they got a 1st and a 2nd rounder, young guys. Where do these 2 men play? They're not going to play right tackle. They just gave him $88 million. They're not going to play left guard. They just gave him $47 million. They're not going to play center. They're either going to beat out Walker or they're going to beat out Ryan. So keep an eye on the depth of this Green Bay Packer offensive line. Whew, I get excited talking about the Packers. I spent 3 years there, Froze my ass off. Let's talk about the defense. Okay, this Green Bay Packer defense led by defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, they have done an excellent job. Last year, Jeff Hafley made a big difference, I think, he and his coaching staff, in the rise of this Packer defense. They run a lot of simulated pressure, if you ask me. I mean, they look like they're blitzing quite a bit. The threat of pressure is just about on every single snap, sugaring up the A-gaps, guys threatening off the edge, but they don't always come. Sometimes they just bluff out of there. It's a lot of simulated pressure. They do an excellent job of disguising coverage. They're very creative. They can play cover 2, Tampa 2, 16 different ways, man, with different guys rolling up and different guys on deep halves. They do a great job with disguises. And I'll say this, what I love about them the most is they play their asses off, man. They play hard. And that's a credit to this coaching staff, starting with Matt LaFleur. Their defensive identity is to get after your ass with effort, get to the football, and knock it out. They're making a lot of splash plays, man. Green Bay had 31 turnovers on defense last year. They had 14 fumble recoveries. That led the NFL. That means they're knocking the ball out and they're chasing it down and scooping it up. They also had 31 takeaways. That's 4th in the NFL. 17 interceptions is 3rd, and they created 45 sacks with 8 different people getting to the quarterback. So it's a hell of an improvement with this Packer defense. they've done a nice job developing some young players. I mean, last year, rookies, Edgerrin Cooper, Javon Bullard, Evan Williams, they come in there and start as rookies on a hell of a defense. They're vastly improved stopping the run. The year before Hafley got here, Green Bay was 28th in the NFL stopping the run. A lot of people said they were soft up the gut. Well, last year, they were 7th, less than 100 yards a game rushing. So you get them in predictable passing situations in Hafley, who doesn't blitz a lot, but they disguise pressures, and when they do come, they have great success. It's a well-orchestrated defense. The defensive line, I still think they need a little bit more juice off the edge. They're led by Pro Bowler Rashawn Gary, number 52. He's a power rusher. He's a really good edge setter. He had 7.5 sacks that led the team. But who's the other guy? Who's the third guy? Do we have enough juice off the edge to go get Detroit, go get Philadelphia, and go get Minnesota, the 3 teams that swept us last year? Lucas Van Ness, former first-round pick, has just 7 sacks in his first 2 years. They got to get more out of this guy. He can rush inside or outside, but his pressure rate is under 10%. Like when you see him rush, does he get pressure? He's under 10%. They got to get more out of him. They do have a young pass rusher, Kingsley Enagbare. He had 4.5 sacks. He's coming on a little bit. And a guy I like is this Brandon Cox, another young Packer who came out of nowhere with 4 sacks. So that's your edge rushers. And they drafted Barron Sorrell. He's wearing 99, I think. He's a 4th-round pick out of Texas. So these 5 edge rushers, they're going to be the guys that have to close out the game in the 4th quarter. But they got to pick it up. In Week 14 against the Lions, Week 17 against the Vikings, in the playoff game against Philadelphia, they just had 4 sacks in 3 games. So this pass rush, although it's good, there's a big difference between good and great. There's good burgers and great burgers, good pass rushers and great pass rushers. They also have some good inside pass rushers. They're led by Kenny Clark, their 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle. Clark had a down year last year because he hurt his foot in that first game over in Brazil. I mean, your quarterback gets hurt, Kenny Clark gets hurt in Brazil. Hurts his foot, he plays through it the whole year, but Clark only had 37 tackles and 1 sack. But he's healthy this year. He's a badass. So he's going to play better. And a guy I love is Devontae Wyatt, former Georgia Bulldog. This guy flashes, man. He flashes quickness, power. You give him a 2-way go, he's a factor. I think Wyatt is going to be a star and a big reason why Green Bay can get to the NFC Championship game. They also have Carl Brooks, a young inside defensive tackle. He famously rejected that field goal to beat the Bears. Carl Brooks gives them some depth. Their linebacking core, I want everybody to just concentrate with me on the edge of darkness, I call them. Edgerrin Cooper. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He's an emerging star. He wears number 56. Kind of like that old New York Giant. What was his name? Oh, Lawrence Taylor. This guy, I'm not comparing him to him, but God, he excites me. Kind of like LT did. Edgerrin Cooper, 2nd year out of Texas A&M. He wears number 56. He's a dynamic game changer. He is fun to watch, man. He pops off the film. This guy's explosive. He's gained 20 pounds of muscle, man. 20 pounds of muscle. He's even more explosive and more durable because he got beat up a little bit as a rookie. But he had 77 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, man. Led the Packers. He forced 2 fumbles. He had 4 passes broken up. He can rush the passer. He can cover you. This guy can do it all. The edge of darkness, Edgerrin who, Jake?
Cooper.
Edgerrin Cooper. Get a jersey. Last year, he played all instincts. I don't even think he really knew exactly what he was doing. He relied on his football instincts. Now, he knows the defense, and he's 20 pounds stronger. This guy's going to have a brilliant season. Trust me, right here from the FFCA. They also have Quay Walker, former first-round pick out of Georgia. We just went to Georgia. Do they practice hard, Jake?
They do.
That's why they got Quay Walker, 3 straight seasons, over 100 tackles. He led the team last year with 102 tackles, and he missed 4 games. They also have Isaiah McDuffie, good player, number 58. He had 94 tackles, second on the team. So they have good linebackers, good depth, good nucleus of defensive linemen. The only question I have is in their secondary. They let Jair Alexander go. Why we let him go? Well, we saved $17 million on his salary cap, and he's only played in 34 out of his last 68 games. So they parted ways. They also let Eric Stokes leave, another corner who had some starting experience. So they go out and get Nate Hobbs, the ex-Raider, $48 million. Keyshawn Nixon is the other ex-Raider playing corner. He can play inside or out. And Javon Bullard, another Georgia Bulldog, is an excellent nickel corner. They have 3 pretty good young corners that have a lot of versatility. Interesting fact, they moved Bo Melton from the receiving corps to the secondary. He's playing corner. Keep an eye on Bo Melton this preseason, number 16. They drafted Micah Robinson out of Tulane in the 7th round. They're looking for some depth, perhaps Kalen King from Penn State. But this corner position, they're counting on Nate Hobbs to step in, start, and play good. They're counting on Bullard being even better in year 2, and they think Keyshawn Nixon can, again, be a very versatile corner for the Packers. The safeties, it's Evan Williams. Last year, he was a 4th-round rookie starting. He had an injury, missed a few weeks, but they love Evan Williams. In the post, he can play half the field. He's a good eraser tackler. And Xavier McKinney, 8 interceptions, second in the league. How do the Giants let Leonard Williams leave? How do you let Xavier McKinney leave? How do you let Saquon Barkley leave? I don't know, but they got him. He's a hell of a player. He has 11 passes broken up and no big plays when Xavier McKinney is on the field. He is a great pro football player at the free safety position. Anyways, the Packers, they got a hell of a football team. I really think Green Bay is going to take the belt this year. I think they can get another one of these championships. I love watching Coach LaFleur's run game at Green Bay. They have a lot of deception. They make you defend every single blade of grass. They're going to run their great tailback, Josh Jacobs, on these wide zone plays. In this case, he's going to the right. But on the backside, they'll put a fast receiver like Reed or Matthew Golden, and they'll fly him across the formation at warp speed. And the quarterback, Jordan Love, he assesses this edge over here. If there's a lot of New Orleans Saints over there, they ain't handing the ball to the jet sweep. But the Packers are blocking the jet sweep. They're not even blocking the end man on the line. They're blocking for this jet sweep because Love might hand the ball off. If the Packers see the edge is occupied, they ain't running a jet sweep. They're handing the ball to the beast. And again, Green Bay will target this play perfectly to block the play side for Jacobs. They're also blocking the backside for the potential jet sweep to a fast jet sweep runner. Love will hand the ball off. Obviously, in this case, because the Packers see this edge is occupied and Josh Jacobs will slam this in there, and the free safety, if he's asked to make this one-on-one tackle, Jacobs might even brandish a stiff arm, man. It is a hell of a run theory. They have a wide zone with Jacobs and a jet sweep packaged on the same play, but Love will assess the edge to determine which side they're going.